Okay. I'm Chris. Chris Corwin. I spoke last year on what was that? Future-proof web design, and I had technical difficulties. Some of you may recall. This year I am here. This guy, Sean Stevens, was kind enough to bring me to Amsterdam with him, so that we could share a week with you and other things. Today I'm going to talk about my own open source effort that I've been working on for, I don't know, a decade now, that I call Makerator. Makerator 1 has been out and available for quite a while, and then I've been working on Makerator 2, and this little talk here is more or less going to be kind of a preview of what it will do once it's finally ready. There are, it's simply not done yet like I hoped it would be at this point, and at the same time, I'm still real happy with some of the concepts behind it, and so I thought I would go ahead and show it off anyway. And then, as it happens, I got real busy and didn't even have a chance to prepare for this talk like I would hoped I would be able to, because of, in part, all the other talks I ended up having to give. So anyway, we're going to show you a little bit about Makerator, and just discuss kind of how it handles some things that I think are, I don't know, handy. I found them useful as a developer. So, the return key is in a very different place than I'm used to on this graciously provided computer.
Chris, your other machine is like right on the edge of the table.
Yeah, it's not a very big table. I think it'll do. All right, so this is, we're more or less looking at the default Makerator install as it exists at this moment. There's, you can see here that, that's annoying, but that doesn't quite fit. This page is being served from, and it tells you here, simply because that's the content we have in that area. The way Makerator works is, it loads up an app begin, similar to the way Brian just spoke about, for those of you that were in here. It senses the response file path and then figures out how to route it based on that. If the response file path is simply the web root, then it will automatically include the core. Check it out. Hold on a second. Okay, it'll include the core. If it is not the web root, then it makes sure that it's not other stuff we might want to run that is perhaps PHP. Anything with a .php file, or WordPress, or phpMyAdmin, that kind of thing. Same thing for Lasso apps. The core is not loaded in that case. And then if the response path ends in .lasso, we see if the page exists, or if that file exists. And if that file doesn't exist, then we'll include the core. If the response file path ends with inc, we abort. It shouldn't even get here because of the way Apache is configured, but just in case. It simply doesn't handle them. And then if it got this far, it will loop through a series of extensions, or in some cases prefixes, and figure out what to do with it from there. It will check to see if it has these things, and if so, it will go ahead and load the core. And then essentially what we get down to then is looping through some extensions and handling, it includes raw, the file, that way the file's not processed. And if there's no error, we know that file exists, so then, okay, this is just too much detail, sorry. We end up loading the core because of this file. And that will take us to I did it again. I should not have shut that window on. Okay. The core. The core has some error handling and some tag loading. It loads above some config files and sets some default options based on those config files. It will load up your personal config files. It then goes through a switch where if a request meets a certain condition, we will handle it one way. If it doesn't, we will handle it another way, that sort of thing. We're going to assume this is a regular old page load, so then it kind of figures out some content and site titles for you based on the URL as smartly as it can, just in case there's no database record to tell it what the page title in question will be later.